Trooper Proctor was ultimately assigned as the case officer.
That's correct.
Oh, there it is. In the first video, we already get to hear it. He was not the lead investigator. He was just a case officer. That is a huge difference. That's the worst time to lie, is when we have documents to show that you did. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law. Today, folks, we are going to start back up with Yuri Bukhenik, the cross-examination of Yuri Bukhenik on day 21 in June of 2024 in the Karen Reed murder trial in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. Now, for those of you who may not know this, this is news. As of today, the recording of this video on March 19th, 2025, Trooper Proctor has officially been fired. Now, why am I saying this? Because you're probably watching this video in the future. It may be almost April. It's important because there's actually going to be a moment in one of these videos, I don't remember exactly which, when Yuri Bukhenik is going to testify to the following. He is going to say that Trooper Proctor was not the lead investigator in this case. He was just one of the troopers assigned to it. But now we have an official statement from the investigatory board from the Massachusetts State Police calling by name, calling Trooper Proctor the lead investigator, unquote, in the Karen Reed murder trial. So Yuri Bukhenik lied. I think it's a little far to call it perjury, but they tried to downplay Trooper Proctor's role in the first trial. They're going to have a much harder time now that the investigatory board called him out by name. You are the lead detective. You were the lead on the Karen Reed investigation. You were the lead investigator, were the literal two words that they used. So we're going to see how that is going to impact trial number 2, which we also learned, and again, not as the recording of this video, by the time this video premieres, it will probably already be old news, but I'll just say them anyway. There's been a motion filed to continue Karen Reed's trial from April 1st to April the 25th. By the time you watch this video, it may have already been granted, and we are not going to have a trial for another 2-3 weeks. But if everything is going according to plan, by the time you watch this video, we would be a few days away from the jury trial. And when I say according to plan, I mean according to Auntie Bev's plan. So, without further ado, let's dive in. The cross-examination by none other than, once again, Alan Jackson of Yuri Bukhenik. Let's go!
Sergeant Bukhenik, I want to start with one of the latter things that you discussed with Mr. Lally, and that's specific to the ring video that y'all talked about this morning. Do you have that in mind?
I do.
The search warrant that produced, and just so we're clear, I'm talking about the specific ring video or series of videos that were associated with One Meadows, John O'Keefe's home.
Okay.
Okay. You didn't write the search warrant for those ring videos, did you?
I did not.
You were not the affiant for those search warrants.
I was not.
Who was the author of the search warrant and the affiant?
It was Trooper Mike Proctor.
Who received the actual ring video or videos from the Ring Corporation?
It was Trooper Mike Proctor received it.
And who ultimately either logged those into evidence or controlled those once they were received from the Ring Corporation?
I believe it was Trooper Mike Proctor.
And ultimately, Sergeant Bukhenik, you did note that in addition to just the physical videos themselves, that login information and login keystrokes, et cetera, were requested from the Ring Corporation as well, correct?
There was discussion with Ring asking for those logs.
I'll call it, is it correct to say an activity log?
That's what was requested, yes, activity log, yes.
So ultimately, the activity log would show who logs in, who accesses the data, things of that nature, correct? Or at least that was the hope.
That is what was requested.
All right. It would also show logging in and executing deletions, manipulating the log files, things of that nature, correct?
That is what was requested, yes.
when you reviewed those log or activity logs, there was no evidence revealed that my client ever logged into that account, correct?
There was no activity logs provided by Ring.
Isn't it true that Ring contacted Trooper Proctor and indicated that they had created a Dropbox folder that contained the evidence that had been sought in the search warrant?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ask it differently.
Isn't it true that the search warrant return specified account information, video recordings, and number 3, activity logs associated with video recordings are all times displayed in UTC?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Do you recall that activity logs were in fact provided from the Ring Corporation?
I do not recall that, no.
Okay. May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Take a look, Sergeant, at that paragraph with my fingers on it. It's about the 3rd paragraph down the middle of the page, and review that to yourself and let me know when you're finished. Does this refresh your recollection as to the items received from the Ring Corporation?
That is the first time I saw that document, so it does not refresh my recollection. I simply read it.
So do you have a recollection as you sit here that in fact during the course of your investigation, the 3 items that you received from the Ring Corporation were the account information, the video recordings, and, quote, activity logs associated with the video recordings, all times displayed in UTC?
To the extent of its availability, as it says in that document.
Okay. The long and short of it is, during the entire course of your investigation, you never revealed that investigation never revealed any evidence whatsoever that my client ever even accessed the account information for the Ring account associated with this search warrant, correct?
Nothing provided by Ring proved or suggested or proved any evidence of that type of activity, no.
Thank you. Trooper Proctor, you were notified.
I am not Trooper Proctor.
I'm sorry.
Freudian slip.
No, you're not. Sergeant Bukhenik.
Sergeant Bukhenik.
How do I say it?
Bukhenik.
I'll give that
Can't.
a shot.
It's fine.
Bukhenik?
Yes,
Is that better?
that's better. Thank you.
If I screw it up again, please. On January 29th, you were notified about a Boston police officer found gravely injured outside the home of 34 Fairview at about 6:40 in the morning. Was that your testimony?
That is not.
What time were you notified?
I was not notified it was a Boston police officer.
So you didn't have that information upon the first notification?
I did not.
Okay, what information did you have?
There was a male party in the snowbank, possibly of a heart attack.
At what point did you learn that the individual was, in fact, a sworn Boston police officer?
I do not know exactly when I learned that he was a Boston police officer.
I think it was during that day or the following day?
It was most likely that day, either, yeah.
Fair enough. Trooper Proctor was ultimately assigned as the, what did you call him? Not lead investigator, but case officer?
That's correct.
Oh, there
he
it
was
is.
assigned on the-
Right there. In the first video, we already get to hear it. He was not the lead investigator. He was just a case officer. That is a huge difference. That is night and day for purposes of the investigation. If he was just a case officer, like, okay, he's a lackey, he can get fired, not fired. Okay, we all kind of worked on this together. There was somebody else who was the lead investigator. We now know for a fact, undisputed fact, that Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator in the Karen Reed homicide investigation, in the Karen Reed murder case. Why is that important? Because of the Massachusetts State Police Board's firing of the lead investigator in the Karen Reed homicide and the way Trooper Proctor handled the case as the lead investigator. That is important because now we have locked in testimony from day number 21 of courtroom testimony in the trial in 2024. This is June already, I believe. And that sworn testimony is locked in. That, no, he was not the lead investigator. He was, what did he call him? A case manager or something. Let's hear it again.
Trooper Proctor was ultimately assigned as the, what did you call him? Not lead investigator, but case officer?
That's correct.
Case
He
officer.
was assigned on
Case officer is such a much lower ranking official. A case officer is someone who's just a lackey doing some, maybe pushing paperwork. The lead investigator is the one that takes on all the major stuff and then gets everybody else to help him out. So yeah, that is going to be big. That is going to be big in trial number 2 because Yuri's testimony, Trooper Proctor was not the lead investigator, but was in fact a case officer, when in reality he was the lead investigator, shows that Mr. Bukhenik has a little bit of, I wouldn't call it perjury. Again, I love how people love to throw that word around and say, oh, look at that, he perjured himself. Perjury, to go and call it perjury, as much as I would love to, folks, I don't think it rises to the level of perjury, but it certainly rises to the level of asking a question. You previously called him a case officer, but he was in fact called a lead investigator by his own investigative agency that ended up firing him, and for the reasons listed for him being the lead investigator. Hello? Is anybody listening? Breathe, Larry. So, calling him a case officer downplays his role, and that's what they wanted in trial number 1. They will not be able to get away with it in trial number 2. Absolutely not. Let's keep watching.
on the 29th, correct?
He was on call from 7 a.m. on January 28th until 7 a.m. on January 29th.
So his assignment was, he was assigned on the 29th because he was on call.
He was on call. His assignment took effect when the schedule came out back in mid-December.
Okay. Well, he wouldn't be assigned to this investigation until there was a need for the investigation. That's all I'm getting to. And once the call came in, he was the assigned case agent.
Once the calls come in, the person that's on call is automatically assigned that case.
All right. Did you personally, as his supervisor, did you personally respond to 34 Fairview at any point on January 29th?
No, I did not.
Did Trooper Proctor, at your direction or on his own, ever respond to 34 Fairview Road at any time on January 29th?
No, he did not.
Based on your initial investigation, and I'm talking about going way back, Sergeant, on your initial investigation, by 10 or 10:30 in the morning, 10:40 in the morning, it was your belief that Mr. O'Keefe had been struck in the face by a person. That was your initial understanding of the circumstances surrounding the investigation, correct?
My initial understanding was that the defendant stated that she hit him. We did not know them.
Sergeant, you hadn't even met my client at that point. You hadn't interviewed a single witness
He's trying.
at 10:41 in the morning, correct? Not one witness.
That's not correct. We had already interviewed the first responders.
Okay, when I say witness, I'm talking about civilian witnesses. So at 10:41, you hadn't interviewed a person at 34 Fairview or civilians associated with this incident, correct?
At that point, no civilians have been interviewed now.
But at 10:41, Sergeant, you contacted Good Samaritan Hospital to inform them that, quote, Mr. O'Keefe was struck in the face with a cocktail glass, end quote, correct?
I do not recall contacting Good Samaritan Hospital.
May I approach?
Yes.
Oh boy. That's the worst time to lie, is when we have documents to show that you did.
I'd like you to take a look at this document, and if you wouldn't mind, pay special attention to the second page, the bottom paragraph where it's tabbed in pink.
He's just gonna say, I don't remember this.
Having reviewed this, does this refresh your recollection that you contacted Good Samaritan Hospital and gave them an assessment, at least based on your investigation at that time?
That is not true.
Oh.
What did you say to Good Samaritan Hospital?
I never spoke to Good Samaritan Hospital. That document is for the medical examiner's office.
I'm not asking you where the document is from. I'm asking you if the document says Trooper Yuri Bukhenik called back at 10:41 stating the case is now being treated as a suspicion.
The objection sustained.
Did you call back to Good Samaritan Hospital and say that the investigation was being treated as a suspicious due to a domestic situation? Did you say that?
I never spoke to Good Samaritan Hospital.
Did you say that there's a possibility that D was struck in the face with a cocktail glass?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever contact anybody at any medical facility and indicate that the investigation was being treated as a suspicious, in quotation marks, because the victim appeared to have been struck in the face by a cocktail glass?
Objection.
Allow that. Did you ever say that?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I did say that to the medical examiner's operations desk.
Okay, so when I was asking you if you ever sent it to Good Sam, you said, no, that's not true, that's never happened. You were correcting me on the fact that it happened at the medical examiner's office, not at Good Sam.
I responded and answered your question honestly, yes.
Okay, so honestly, you did, in fact, at 10:41 a.m., indicate to another professional involved in the investigation that the circumstance was being treated as a physical assault at that point, correct?
I communicated our suspicions to the medical examiner's office.
Basically, Yuri is trying to weasel out by saying, no, I never said that to Good Samaritan. Rather than saying, I did say that, just it wasn't to Good Samaritan. He's trying to play like, I don't know how much Jackson actually knows and how much he has. So I'm going to just try and play as dumb as I possibly can. And hopefully he can't nail me on anything. It is a dirty, dirty, dirty cop game. And they all know how to play it. They all have experience. They all know how to play it. And this man is unfortunately playing it quite well. But Jackson is not letting go. Let's watch.
At 10:41 or thereabouts in the morning, correct?
That's correct.
Your initial investigation during those obviously critical hours, the beginning hours, led you to believe that there was at least a good possibility, you indicated that you made a phone call, that it was a physical altercation that led to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
That's correct, yes.
There you go.
What steps did you take, sir, in those moments, to determine whether someone in the house at 34 Fairview may have been involved in that physical altercation that you suspected at the time?
Folks, let's see what Yuri answers in the next episode tomorrow as we continue the cross-examination of Yuri Bukhenik in the first trial of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Karen Reed. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.